people don't know what good feels like, so it's hard for them to get out of it because
Oh,
they think the way they feel is normal, but it's not. Like that's actually, you feel bad. Welcome back to the Take Back Your Life show. I'm here with a special guest. Mr. Matt Nimey is joining us from the Nimey's Auto Group. And today we're going to be talking about health in the workplace and just really how health impacts your performance on the job, how it impacts your relationship with your coworkers, and honestly, your experience overall on a day-to-day basis going into your profession. But before we get into that, I think we should probably talk about you. Tell us a little bit about you, Matt, like who you are, what you do, where your business is located, and then we'll get into some other questions.
All right. Well, I'm not that interesting, but I'll give you a little history. So I'm Matt Nimey from Nimey Auto Group, Nimey's New Generation Cars, Matt Nimey Buick GMC in Boonville, and my brother's store in Clinton, Next Gen Car Care, and we're in the automotive business. We're involved in a lot of different factors, and we're growing a pretty big team. I came from a very small team. It was my father and my mother. Yeah. They had a little repair shop, East Utica, down in the corner of Colorado and Bleecker Street. My father grew up in the business. He started when he was like 17, back in 1964. He was an enthusiast of fixing things. Like he just couldn't get enough being the fixer. Like, he was a phenomenal mechanic. And since my brothers and I were born, we grew up in that facility. We grew up, having to fix everything. My father teaching us. My father was in a wheelchair. He had multiple sclerosis. He got it at a young age. So by the time we were little kids, he really couldn't walk much. He was restricted to pretty much one arm, left arm, which I think you met a few times. He always had to show everybody how strong his arm was. He was a beast.
Think back to my childhood. It was your dad showing me every time I met him that he was tougher than me with his one arm.
Yeah, he was famous for that.
And once I started working out, it got worse because then he really wanted to show me that he could beat me up with one arm.
Yeah, and that's how this whole thing will go full circle too, as we're talking, is back into my father's health. But to finish up with business wise, my dad taught my brothers and I the skilled trade from day one, because we were his right arm and his two legs, and so he used us to be complete, in that sense. And so we fixed cars. We grew up fixing cars, and my father was always teaching us how to make a living, different ways to make a living. And some was buying cars and fixing them up and selling them. And so we got into that, and it just all flourished from there. And it's a long story, and it's ironic because my father, which has now passed, but he had a left arm, and but my mother doesn't really have a right arm. She has one, but it doesn't do much, right? She also was stricken with a very rare bone problem. So the two of them, they made a complete, right?
And so that's arm and the right arm together. That's perfect.
Yeah. And so it was an experience, and it made us who we are. That was watching them too and their hardships and overcome it always. That made my brothers and I ambitious, right? And it showed us drive and perseverance and to overcome obstacles and to not complain. My father was in a wheelchair. He was stricken since he was young. He never complained. I mean, you've known him since you were a kid. Yeah. He didn't complain. That guy woke up every morning.
Never heard it once.
Never. He woke up every morning and went to work. And no matter what the thing was, we used to ratchet strap him to the tractor, because he had to mow his own lawn. You couldn't mow his lawn, he's mowing it. So we would lift him onto the lawnmower and ratchet strap him. Not the safest thing, right?
But honestly, to speak to someone outside of the family, but who grew up with you guys, my brother was best friends with Richie, so I kind of got adopted into that family. I always say that you guys are my big brothers, but that was something I learned from watching you. Is as I got older and I became a little more ambitious in my teenage years, and I would think of, for me, it started with working out, and I would think if I couldn't do something, honestly in my head, I would think back of your dad or think back of you guys, and it's here I am saying I'm tired because I can't do it, but I know Matt and Richie were up working today before they went to school, and then they went to school, and then they're up taking care of their dad, and then they went to work, and then they went to school, and when they got done with school, they went home and they took care of their dad, and then went back to work, and then they helped. I kept thinking of that, you have no excuse.
Right. There's no excuse.
Like there was no excuse for me because I got to see what you and your family were doing every single day. And honestly, like that was the big inspiration for me growing up. It's like, wow, like you can do any, like I watched your dad literally do, I can't even think of how many things probably people would say he could have never done.
Right.
Like when we opened the gym here, your mom used to bring him. She'd bring him and he'd wheel in through the door and we'd strap the bands up to the rack. Right. Yeah. And he would work out in here on bands. Yeah. And it's just, I don't know, it's just crazy to think about how many people say they couldn't do it.
Yeah, I didn't even realize he, had that much of an influence on you too. He was like the influencer, right? So now we have a bunch of influencers, like all over this things. But my father was an influencer. He was motivating. He never spoke down to anyone, never spoke down to anyone. He never held a grudge, and he just always wanted to see people do better. He always wanted to motivate, teach, help, and never complained. And there you go, like anybody can work, anybody can push, anybody can persevere. And no, he wasn't going to run a marathon, but he was going to help you to run a marathon, right?
And if you went down to your shop on any day of the week that his dad was there, he was working.
Yeah.
Like whether it was sweeping.
He worked till the day he died.
Sweeping, teaching, grabbing something, helping someone, like always doing something. Like every single day. There was never a time I've never seen him not do
no, when he was
didn't he have a little setup? I remember,
we built him like a gym at the
I remember I came down, I don't remember if it was a party or something. He's like, Christina, come in the back, and he had a like a little hook, and he had a band. He put his head.
Yeah. Oh yeah. People think he was hanging himself because he'd put the band around his head, then he put it under his neck, and he'd be pulling it down with his neck.
I remember what you're talking about. And when he said, "Yeah, you come in the back. I want to show you my gym I built," and we're like, "Okay." We go in the back. He gets his chair in position, and he straps his head in. Yeah. And I'm thinking about
a band around his forehead.
What kind of gym are we strapping your head in right now? And he just starts doing crunches, and then he starts doing neck exercises, and then he reaches up and grabs another band. He's doing pull downs, and I was like, wow, like he actually figured out a unique way to train himself with his ability.
Yeah, because his neck used to bother him really bad, and then started working it out, and he's like, oh, if I work my neck out, it doesn't really bother me that bad, because you're feeding it blood, you're feeding it nutrition. So he learned this, and he grew up. He was always wanted to be athletic. Like he was always athletic when he was young. He always ran. He always stayed in shape. He used to do, he could do push-ups like no other. He had the record in his school for sit-ups. How many sit-ups you can do in 60 seconds. He used to do 89 sit-ups in 60 seconds. So he was always athletic. He was quick, wasn't a big guy, wasn't, huge muscular, but he was always strong, athletic, and healthy. And then when he got MS, he sort of threw in the towel on working out. And so his MS progressed and progressed and progressed. And then one day, I don't know, I think because he always used to motivate my brothers and I to stay in shape, push-ups, and like, you always got to go for a run, or, always pushed. And so, I think he sort of got some kickback from us, and like, well, you can work out. And so he did. He started. And next thing you know, it was 2 hours a day. He would do an hour in the morning, an hour at night, or it was 2 straight hours. And he started that constant exercise. And then that's when, you remember his arm was getting huge. Like he had a bicep on him, like Mike Tyson. And like he just became strong, and he gained back some of his intestinal problems he was having, control over his intestines. He gained back, a lot of mobility that was lost over the years of not exercising, right? He was always active, but he wasn't exercising. Exercising is anybody can go work hard, right? We can go work construction, we can work a lot of different jobs, but that's not a structured exercise, a structured movement. And when you start taking time and you focus on those structured movements, your body changes, you morph into something much, much more powerful, much stronger, and it also mental, and I'm sure we'll talk about that, but that's...
Did the doctors ever say anything? Like, were they like doubtful of him, and then he kind of like proved him wrong?
Always, always. And they always wanted him to take meds and take this and do these shots and take all these drugs. And he never did anything. He refused. He was eat healthy, exercise. And he got into the exercise thing heavy. And then, we were in our teens. He started really, we're exercising harder and harder and harder. And he worked out from then until the day he died. On the day he died, the guy's almost unconscious. He has a shattered femur. He's been stuck in bed because of a shattered femur, and they couldn't do surgery because his heart was weak from sitting in a wheelchair all this time. And they told him his heart, they had given him like short time to live years ago.
I remember, and this is kind of sad to hear, but I can remember probably 3 to 4 times in my life that I have been told, we don't know if Mr. Nimey is going to make it. And there's been 10 years after it, 10 years after.
It's like, I'm not going anywhere.
No.
It almost got to like the boy.
He said, we're not going back to that doctor.
Yeah, like the boy who cried wolf. As you get older, it's like, I heard that, I was like, no, he's fine. Like, and even no matter how crazy it was, like, no, he's good. Like,
oh yeah, he'd be in the hospital bed, like septic, like out of it, hallucinating. Mm-hmm. And you go back the next day and you're like, yeah, he's probably not going to make it through the night. You go back the next day and he's like, you got something good? Like, you give me an egg McMuffin from like. So he always persevered, and he always continued with the fitness and the physical fitness. And if he hadn't, there's no way, he would have been around. He believed in saying his prayers and being faithful and thanking God for everything he had and working out.
Yeah.
That was him, and it carried him. He probably got 20 extra years out of life because of that.
And I think that says a lot too, like what you said about saying the prayers and working out, because there's something specifically that he told me, and I know, Christina, he told you before as well, of how he counts his reps. And I think that's a unique thing because it really ties in the mindset aspect of all of this. Because do you know how he counts his reps? I show you how he counts his reps.
Well, I know that I know a lot of times when he was working out, he was praying for people and he'd say people's names.
Yeah. He would count his reps through prayers. Instead of saying I'm doing 10 reps, he'd be like, I'm going to do 10 prayers either for someone, or I do Hail Marys. Like I forget one time he was like, I could do whatever exercise it was. He's like, I can do it for 20 Hail Marys. And I was like, I have no clue how long that is, but that's like, it would take me a long time to say that. So I imagine it's a good, like, that's a good metric, man. Like,
yeah.
But I think that it really ties together the two most important pieces, which is the physiology, your body, and your mind. Mm-hmm. And having a purpose bigger than himself, like to keep going.
Right? He wasn't praying for himself.
No,
he didn't pray. He prayed for everybody else.
Yeah. Like he wasn't sitting there praying, I hope I get better. I hope I don't hurt tomorrow. No, he was thinking of others, and he had a purpose to help others that gave him that strength to go beyond whatever the doctor said was possible.
Right. Yeah. And this stuff's like it's hard to talk about. It's just. You get emotional thinking about all the stuff. He was such an influencer, but humble. Like he was just a humble guy. You had
except when he told me he kicked my ass every time. Except for arm wrestling and everything else.
Except for arm wrestling, he arm wrestled every one of our teenage friends. Always, every time they came over. Yeah, it was funny.
Well, it worked for you guys because I can also remember going over to your house. This is so funny too, thinking I was probably like 8 to 10 years old and going over for swimming. And I don't know how we got to this point, but it became like, because my dad was bigger and stocky and working out.
Oh yeah.
And it became you and Richie mostly. You wanted to fight my dad. Like that was what it was. Yeah. And your dad.
It was WWF.
And your dad was on the pool deck, like, no, in the water. Let's see. I want to see if my sons can beat up your dad.
He always pushed.
Who won?
Always pushed. Oh yeah, his father drowned me a handful of times. So it was pretty bad. Yeah.
Well, once
I don't know if you remember.
Once they got old enough,
but your father was jacked.
Yeah. So there was a turning point. Like when you guys were probably less than 16, he could whoop your ass. But after that.
Yeah, once we hit that growth spurt, puberty spurt, it was a different world back then,
Yeah, but, and then I think he no longer took the challenge once he lost.
Yeah, his father was like, it was like getting it was like Hulk Hogan and then like two midgets in the pool. Yeah, and he used to just whip us, but it was fun. It was fun, and it was always a challenge. My father used to get a kick out of it. I remember him laughing and chuckling on the side of the pool. But yeah, it's definitely mental. It's physical. It's it's everything, and when you put it together, it creates a different person.
Yeah, and I assume, I know we probably already hit this, but like that was a big influence for you to focus on your health, because you're someone who's always been focused on health as well.
Yeah, and it's funny, I see people that have maybe a parent, a relative, a friend that is stricken by some kind of disease, some kind of health element or ailment, right? And I wonder, what is it that makes some people go, I'm going to be the healthiest being I can be, so that I have every chance of reducing the percentage I might get that, like percentage of chance that I might get whatever it is, right? Because we all know that the healthier you are, the less likely you are to have disease or sickness or messed up body parts, right? So like that motivated me, seeing I have two parents, they both have physical ailments, and like I'm going to do everything I can my whole life to reduce the chances of me having those ailments. And if I get them, I'm going to be in such good shape that it's going to help me deal with those ailments, right? So nobody says if you work out, you're not going to get cancer. Nobody says if you work out, you're not going to get MS. Like you still could get these things. The likelihood's less.
Yeah.
But how you're going to be able to cope with those things is completely different.
That's so huge. And I'm glad that you also, I think it's nice to hear it from sometimes not us, hearing it from someone else, because that's really what our mission is. It's like, it's the weight loss is cool, right? And can definitely be helpful to prevent some disease. The percent body fat is cool, but like at the end of the day, it's like we want to optimize you as a human. So God forbid, if these things do happen, you're better suited to deal with it, both 100%. Mentally and physically. Yeah, like the mental aspect.
Yeah, mental aspect too, right? Yeah, because we know those things, when you're stricken with something like that, it's devastating, right? It takes the energy out of you. It crushes, it can crush you mentally, right? Anything when your knee hurts or you twist your ankle, you're pissed, right? Like you get emotional about it. Now imagine something that the doctor says you have a permanent problem like this. You're not fixing it. This is a disease. So when you're in good shape, you have that confidence. You have the strength to say to yourself, I'll overcome it. I'll deal with it. It's no big problem. Like, right? We're going to get through it. After being programmed like this all these years, right? I say it all the time. Like, you can cut my legs off. I'm still going to go to work tomorrow. You can cut my legs off as long as you don't cut off my head. Yeah. Like, I'm going to work. I'm going to continue to build something, and it's not going to stop me. And then you watch people, like, we were just at the Boilermaker. My kids and I, we went out to Syracuse. We wanted to do more for the wheelchair racers. So we went out and we picked up their chairs, because they fly in and then their stuff comes in these big boxes. So we went out with box trucks, and the crew from the dealership, from the group, they went out. They also went. We had a few trips, and you meet these people, and it's like there's nothing that's going to stop them. They have two arms. Some of them don't have hands fully functional. It doesn't stop them. They go out and race 9 miles. Yeah. They go out and one guy does triathlons. He swims, he runs using a bicycle, right? And then he bikes using the bicycle, 112 miles. Like, when I said to one of them, he's 62 years old. I said, hang on, I'm going to go get your chair, and I'll bring it on the bus. And I get back over to the bus, and he's off the bus. So how'd you get off the bus? He says, I walked. He has no legs. Like, he walked on his hands. He's 62 years old. I mean, think about a 62-year-old healthy person in like their physical ability. This guy carries himself right off the bus. Bus steps are what, 12, 14, 18 inches, like 3 steps. He got right off the bus. Like, there's nothing that stops these people, and they get it in their head. And you have in life, we have to make those choices, right? Like, put in your head to go forward, or you become stagnant.
The thing we've always said is, if you don't quit, you can't lose. That's the only, like, as long as you don't quit, you don't lose. That's right. That's the only way you lose, because there's always something you can do to progress forward. One of the things we talk about too, in a smaller capacity, like you mentioned, if you have a major ailment, but even with injuries, like you said, a sprained ankle. And Christina has her analogy about like the flat tire. And I think it relates a lot to the car world. When people get a small little thing, like a sprained ankle, or they're not in a good place because of work or something happened, and they just decide, I can't do anything for a little while. Like, so what's the analogy that you use when it comes to like the flat tire?
Car analogy, right? Like, you're on the side of the road and you get a flat tire. You have, I guess, 2 options. Cut the rest of your tires. Now you're out of car. What's the point of that? Or call AAA and get the one tire fixed, and now you have your car. It's like, but so many people opt to slash the rest of the tires. Like, oh, I
I don't know if you'd slash the rest of the tires. It's probably just abandon the car.
Like, abandon the car. Or at least, oh God.
Just
But like,
go
there's
until it
She's
doesn't go
committed. That's
anymore.
why. Like,
she's committed. She's committed.
yeah, it should come
But there's so
barreling
many-
through the parking lot, sparks everywhere, but she got there.
She got there. There's so many people that will have the slash in the tire, right? The one no, or the 1 week of not losing weight, or whatever it is, and they throw in the towel and they're like, screw it, you just abandoned the car. Fix the tire. Fix the one tire.
Yeah, but that's where you guys come in. That's the difference. So like what you create gives people that motivation and push that we need, because not everybody can just say, I'll get the tire fixed and keep going, right? It's just, and we're all different and we all have strengths and weaknesses. And for a lot of people, one of the weaknesses is just you get a bump in the road and they're stuck at it, right? And when what you guys did with our company, creating the Facebook group, creating that transparent place and safe place for them to communicate, talk about what's challenging them, what's hard, I can't do it, and then motivating somebody else, motivating them to say that yes, you can do it, and you're not going to lose weight every day. You're going to lose weight in stages, right? That is what made it all work. Like, we all could have went and joined
And worked out. Like, you could have worked
the
out
franchise gym, right? And say, we had quite a few people join. I don't know what the percentage was, but it was pretty high. And we wouldn't have, even if we had that many people join that independent gym, right? And we said, all right, we're all going to meet there at 5 a.m. every day of the week, and everybody should at least be there 3 times if you want to lose weight, right? Within the first week or second week, we would have lost probably 50% of the people. By the third or fourth week, we would have lost probably 90% of those people, because everybody fed off each other's motivation and the motivation of your coaches, and them breaking chops and creating, friendships with our team. Like, your coaches created friendships with our teammates, with our team, and then they became teammates, and they all were in the challenge together with the coaches guiding. They were the team captains, right?
Yeah. And if somebody did have a flat tire, or if something did happen, we pull out our hat trick, who is Alicia, our transformation specialist. And she helps ensure that person will be able to stay on track, and she's in communication with like the coaches to make sure that we can help people overcome, if they need modifications, or if they have something going on, they're not feeling good a couple of days, having the support of Alicia and the coaches, as well as the community that comes in, with the corporate groups, just really helps keep people motivated and committed to, what they want their journey to be.
I tell them every time, like, I see them, because I see them throughout the whole program, and when they have their successes, it's like Christmas for me. It's like Christmas morning, because it's so rewarding. And when they succeed, we succeed, but it's not even that. It's just so great to see them. They really transform, and to see each person's journey not only transform like their body, but mentally. Like, you can see that each time you meet with them and you talk to them. And I've talked to your team even outside. I drove up there one day to talk to Will, and it was after the challenge, and just to see the whole group, it was a difference between when I first met them to that day. I was like, wow.
And there's a confidence factor that comes with being in shape. Whether you turned into Hulk Hogan, or you just turned into a better athlete, right? More functional, right? Physically functional. There's a confidence to that. When you can move easier with less pain, quicker, less energy, you're less exhausted just by carrying something from the car into the building, life gets better.
Yeah.
Like, life gets better, not just physically, but mentally. You're not as exhausted.
It's cool to hear the wins that sometimes we don't always think about. Like, thinking of one woman the other day, she posted in her Facebook group that she was able to lift the 30-pound cat litter, like, over her shoulder to bring it in the house. And you guys obviously do a lot of manual labor.
Yeah.
Many of your teammates.
Yes.
Like, I always call it the zombie apocalypse, is the way I kind of refer to it. People are living in a zombie apocalypse, right? Potentially over-medicated, not feeling good, in pain, negative mindset. That's like what we like to do, is to help take you out of the zombie apocalypse, because the things that you're doing on a daily basis, if you feel crappy doing them, it's going to bleed into everything else.
Yeah, there's a couple people that were taking stuff for, diabetes, sugar stuff, and I don't know if either one is taking any right now. I don't believe either one. But it was like, diet and exercise can change your life. You don't have to depend on a doctor to just throw a pill at you. Like, and you shouldn't accept that. You should always see what you can do, because our bodies are amazing. Our minds are amazing. Like, what can you do to not take that pill?
So
Right?
I like, you can never fix the internal problem with an external source.
Yes.
So if you're dealing with something in here, it's like you have to, I was just talking with someone last night, like you have the answer. You don't know you have the answer yet, but you do. You just have to go and find it, or you have to have someone else who can show you. So that's one of the ways that we look at like our transformation programs, especially working with a company. We're bringing in so many people at once, and this is a new world to them. But if you imagine that journey like a mountain, and we have to climb up to different levels, if you haven't been up to this level yet, like if you've been in a bad place for a long time, then you lean on the trust of someone else who's been there. And that's where the coach comes in. It's like if you're hiking up a mountain and you get to this next level, you don't know what lies ahead, but the coach does, because we've been there, we've helped people travel it. So it's like, that's where you lean on them. Like, let me show you the way. Like, I know you don't know where you are right now. It's a little uncomfortable because you haven't done this in a really long time, but it's okay. Like, we got a path. We know exactly where we're going.
Yeah, or ever. I mean, I think we have a few people in the group when we did it, at the company, that they weren't an athlete. They didn't ever work out before. They enjoy it now.
Yeah.
So it's something that, it's like anything else, right? All of a sudden you found something you liked, you didn't know, and if somebody didn't push you to get there, you wouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
So it's rewarding as a leader and as an owner to see the transformation, that happened. Like, I love seeing people do better in the skills and in what they do at work in our industry, right? Become professionals in the automotive industry. Some people come in from a sneaker store or from anything in the past, and they get into the industry and then you watch them excel, and that's rewarding.
Yeah.
But then adding this factor in was really rewarding too, to see people lose 30, 40, 50 pounds, to, gain muscle mass, become like physically really functional. That was really rewarding.
What were some of, I guess what we talk about, obviously the health benefits of people who've lost weight, they got off medication and all that stuff. What were some of the things that you noticed amongst the team when it comes to like just performance or interaction since going through the program?
Definitely, there's definitely a performance change. You see more energy, more enthusiasm, but we saw what was really neat is even those that didn't participate in this started eating healthier during lunch and stuff, right? Because lunchroom became, so nobody ate lunch. The store in Boonville, very rarely ever did anybody eat lunch there at the store. And Utica started like they had Beth and Kelly, they were cooking for the whole store in the kitchen, like healthy food. It was absurd.
I didn't know that.
They threw,
That's so cool.
Yeah, they were like throwing money in a pot, and then Beth and Kelly were like preparing meals, like meal prepping for like the whole crew. But even those that didn't participate in the challenge were involved in something that became like this. It strengthened the team. It strengthened that camaraderie. They had a camaraderie about them. And yes, the ones that participated in the group had a little bit more camaraderie, but it was contagious to the whole company though.
Yeah.
And so you saw people that never ate at the store, always went to, Subway or Taco Bell or whatever fast food place, now eating like oats and yogurt and like, and things like that in the lunchroom. So that was great. And
I didn't know that. That's so cool.
Yeah. And as for me, I'm sort of like, I've become a little bit of a health nut, so I'm always like watching what I eat, and in a fun way. it doesn't hinder my life. I enjoy it, but I'm always in my mind, I shouldn't say criticize, but I'm always sort of judging, like, geez, he shouldn't eat that. Like, she shouldn't have that. Like, that's really not good for you, But it's not something you say out loud. But when you see them take action and like eating healthier, you feel good about them. Like you feel good for them, right? And that was nice. And I want everybody to feel healthy, because I know how good it feels. And when you don't know how good it feels, it's hard to get somebody to believe in it, right? Because they haven't felt that. Like they think they feel fine. You don't know what feeling fine is. Like, you don't know what feeling great is. You're missing out. You don't know what you're missing out on. it's just like somebody who has a spouse they love, right? You don't know what kind of love you can have for somebody until you love somebody that much, right? And that's how like mental and physical conditioning and fitness is to me. Like that's how I feel about it.
And I think I think it's so funny you said that, because I think that was all episode 2 maybe was the whole talk around that.
Really?
Is that people don't know what good feels like, so it's hard for them to get out of it, because they think the way they feel is normal, but it's not. Like that's actually, you feel bad, you know. And then on the other side of it, you talked about, you know, getting this change and like you have the confidence to go do things, and like you don't know what love is until you have it. At the same time, when you feel good about yourself, you're also unwilling to accept others treating you poorly. So one of the interesting things that we've seen over the years, and we don't like to like promote this as a thing because it's kind of negative, is that when someone goes through that program, specifically Take Back Your Life, and the whole premise is taking back your power, your control of your life. A lot of times, I don't say a lot of times, sometimes we find that when they finish it, they make a very informed decision with confidence that they are no longer happy in a relationship. And we've had people call off weddings and stop marriages, and not saying that's the goal, but they found they were never happy, or they were not happy for a very long time, and they've got to this new place where they feel great about themselves, and they have the confidence to say, I don't deserve this anymore. I can go find something that fits me.
Yeah, they don't have to accept the status quo or just it's a relationship and I can't find anybody else. Like they don't have to accept that anymore. So yeah, it's a confidence thing. It's being able to have conversations with your boss or coworkers that you couldn't have before, because maybe they looked down upon you, or maybe you didn't have, you know, the strength or the ideas. When you start pumping blood through your body, it's not just in your muscles, it's in your head. You think more. Your brain reacts faster. You get more you're eating better, right? When you're eating better, your body is consuming more nutrients, your brain works off nutrients, like everything goes positive. It's not just one thing here or one thing there. It's your life is more positive. Your outlooks are more positive.
Yeah. And trying to get people, again, something that, you know, is a mission for us is like to get people to shift their mindset of what they perceive workout as. Again, the weight loss or the like getting bigger muscles or six pack is like, that's a cool side effect, but can we focus on the stress relief aspect of it, or being more creative? Like there's so many times where I'm working out and I'll go up to the board and like quickly write something down for like a business idea or conversation to have or something. It's like, if you can almost look at the benefits of moving your body in those regards, you're going to hopefully be more apt to want to start to work out and do it more consistently. Because now it's coming from, or it's not coming from a place of I should. Like, oh, I should get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and work out. It's like, you're going to hit freaking snooze every single time if that's the thought of you going to work out. But if it's a stress relief, or I get more creative, or I have more confidence to say something to my boss and ask for a raise, like stuff like that, you're going to be more apt to continue to do it for the rest of your life. Not just 6 weeks, not just 12 weeks.
More and more people come in and they don't say to me, I want to lose weight necessarily. They say, I need to do this because I need it for my mental health. I need it because this stress are going on and this going on, and I want to be a better person. I want to be a better example for my family. That's what they come in here. And I love hearing that. And like you're saying, the weight loss and stuff like that, that's a side effect, you know, but it's people come in here and they say, I have to come in. I need to come in there. Without that, like my week is crap. Because mentally you do feel clearer.
Yeah, 100%. I stress it constantly. If I don't, I live a sort of chaotic life. My wife says I create chaos everywhere I go, right? I'm just like, I'm always trying to do it. Like the brain doesn't shut off. So I'm always trying to make like the next business thing or the next. So I'm always growing, expanding, trying to do something. Yeah. That's why we're friends, right?
We should hang out.
Likes attract. So we use opposites attract too, but the two of us are on a steam train going forward. So, but that working out every day, like now it's to the point where if I'm not going to the gym, I at least have to roll out of bed. You know, I have my little morning prayer thing that I do, and I rate down to like, all right, I I got to work out for at least 15 minutes. So it could be push-ups, sit-ups, and walk around the field out, at my house, or anything simple of that nature to excrete like I have to get my muscles to do something. And like it just puts me in the right mental state for the day. And the days that you can't do it, or I'm traveling or something, it throws me off. And it's crazy. I've become dependent on it. And I was listening to, I think it was like Alex Huberman.
Huberman, yeah.
And he said that in one of the studies, they found that your muscles like excrete serotonin. And like that's got to be what it is for me.
Oh yeah,
it's like a high.
It's a good hit.
It's a good hit, and I need it. I need that, and during the day, it's my drug, right? That's my drug. I hate to say it, but I have to do that every day. Like it can't just be a leisure walk around the block. Like I have to it can be 7 minutes long of squat thrusts, but it has to be like of making the muscle work for a few minutes, and that can set my day.
That's the number one thing if you want to, like, for mental health, if you're in a bad spot, if you shift your physiology or shift your mindset. So like I have a theory behind like pain, like internal pain excretes through physical suffering. So when you go through physical suffering, you get out the internal stress or tension of the pain. Because I'm the same way. So we think alike, right?
Well, I think it's a way to deal with things too. I mean, just on a personal level, the first time we miscarried, the first thing I did was work out. And my mom actually yelled at me. She's like, "What are you doing? Why are you going to work out?" I'm like, I am so emotional right now. The only way I knew how to release it. And I mean, it barely worked out. I was like bawling half the time, but like in between a squat thrust, I was like, right in another squat thrust. But like, it was a way for me, like a cathartic way of dealing and expressing emotion.
There's someone listening, you've probably worked out at some point and started crying uncontrollably while you're exercising in an emotional time of your life. Like that's normal. And it's how you not excrete, but you're releasing the tension that's inside through that physical pain or physical suffering. And I actually saw recently, I can't think of the therapist's name, but I saw them talk about one of the strategies they use with their patients. And I thought this was fascinating. When a patient comes to see them, they said before they'll even speak to them, they make them do 10 minutes of bodyweight squats. Because most often, just that exercise of 10 minutes will put them into a better state. Just from that one thing can fix whatever they came to him for, can fix it just by doing that before they even talk.
We sure do, instead of just giving you medication. Everyone laughs at me because I'll come in here and I do like 20 push-ups and they go, "What's wrong with Alicia?" And they know something's going on. But I do that like throughout the day, all the time, because I have to get up, I have to move, I have to walk around. So just bang out 20 push-ups and I'm better and I go back into my office.
Yeah, we get rude.
That is
Get
awesome.
rude people call us, and then afterwards you can't find Alicia. She's doing push-ups to get out the rudeness from the person on the phone.
I love it. We're gonna put that in the new standard operating procedures at the dealership. Irate customer, stop. Go out back and do 10 push-ups. Before you respond, do 10 push-ups.
I think, unfortunately, in today's world, you'll find a point where your whole team is outside doing push-ups. Because
we need more people exercising. I think that would help with the I think public relationships. Like some people. It's funny. It's so many people are so unhappy.
I know.
And it's like, I watch the people that went through the program at our company right now, and they're not unhappy. Like they're laughing, they're joking, they're high-fiving, they're getting up and going for runs at 4:45 in the morning. Like that's now normal at our place. It was not normal 8 weeks, 10 weeks ago. Like
that's super fascinating because we've been doing this for a while now, and we can almost predict when people will be successful just based upon like their culture and stuff. So it's you guys you have a fantastic culture that you guys have created. So it's cool to see you already come from an awesome culture, and then in just 6 weeks be able to heighten it to like a new level. Like, so it's just really as an outsider perspective, it's really cool to see that.
And I actually, that was one of the things I did want to talk about today. And you mentioned like, one, the importance of public relations and connection. You mentioned that for your team, now their connection with each other and how strong that is. But I always thought, like Christina said, even before that, you guys got a unique team, like in terms of their connection with one another. Even like you mentioned, the the wheelchair racers, you guys went out and helped. Your team went and helped too. It wasn't just you.
Oh no!
You know,
yeah.
you had mentioned,
Participation's incredible.
like you had mentioned that you had, like I see Coffee Fridays, like the team goes and shows up there, gives the free coffee, or they help out at community events. All these different things I see going on. What was it for you guys that created that? I'm just curious. Is there something that you focus on?
Yeah, we focus on good people. So, it's tough, right? Finding teams, like you could be an amazing guy. You could be really great at your skill.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't mesh with the team, right? So we have our core values, first of all, that are first and foremost, and then sort of like the mission, what we're working for, and our belief structure and morals. And we try to find people that align with that. And hopefully those people, that just because you align with those doesn't mean you're still going to work right on the same team. And so it takes time filtering through all that. And sometimes, having to not work with somebody anymore because they don't really mesh with the whole team. That's a tough conversation, right?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, over time we've we've come to have some really great people on the team. And we always, one of the things we asked during almost every interview is, where do you volunteer? And because it's not about me volunteering, it's not about, or just Cindy, my mother volunteering and helping the community. It's about, is our organization going to help the community? I have dreams, I'm not going to get into the big long thing right now about what I want to do for people in the community that have children that become disabled, right? Like, not the children, but the parent, right? How do we help keep those parents in the house so that they can raise their own kids, right?
Yeah.
Without ending up in a long-term care facility or whatever. And so the dream hasn't, the action plan hasn't fully developed and it hasn't fully taken place, but we do our part, discreetly through some financial and equipment helping people.
Yeah.
But like, if your whole team is made up of good people that like helping others, then you should be able to develop a hell of an organization, right? And so that's what one of our goals is. And yes, not every single person on the team volunteers for every event. You can't. Life's busy. They have children. They have their own families. That you don't know what their story is. They might have a disabled parent or a disabled aunt or uncle that they help with all the time, and that's their portion, or that's their action they're taking to help the community, right? But for those that do volunteer, we get a big number. We get a big turnout every time. Every time we're going to help a nonprofit, every time we're going to do something for somebody in the community, we have good participation, and that's something we really like, because anybody can just start a company, right? Yeah. You guys want to sell hot dogs, or you want to open a gym, or you want to open a car, be in the car industry. Anybody can figure that one out. How do we make a difference, right?
Yeah, and I like that you mentioned the idea of filtering, and that's something that we've taken to heart here. Like, one, you mentioned about the different interview questions. We talked about that before, that we don't ask normal questions in an interview because we're not looking for the normal person. But also with our members, like you mentioned, in our community, the openness and safety to express like what's going on and get help with. We are very protective of that community. So one of the things that we maybe catch flack for is because we don't let anyone come work out here unless you meet with us. Like, you're going to have to meet with us and talk about your goals and talk about you. And a lot of times, going back to like the public, is they think that like we're a commodity. So they think that they can just treat us however we want, and that they are entitled to come here because they want to, and that they're interviewing us to see if we're the good fit for the gym. But in reality, we're interviewing them because we're looking for the right people for the community, because in order to have the level of change that we're creating, you need the support.
You need the support.
And you need people who are similar, I guess, to your point, that are willing to support each other. It's not that you're similar values or morals, but are you going to be someone that's okay with hearing others talk about stuff that they're struggling with and not say silly things to them or rude things to them or repeat it somewhere? And are you going to contribute to that conversation? And if you are, like, you're going to be a great asset to this community, and everyone can help each other.
Yeah, what you guys did with, and there was other text groups and so on, but like the Facebook group that's accessible only to the people that are in the company Take Back Your Life Challenge. I was doubtful okay,
It's
when
okay,
I saw
it's okay to be
that
honest.
there would be any participation, right, at all.
Mhm.
And I was like, yeah, whatever. Like I accepted the thing, and like you sent me an invite or whatever, and I, okay, so I'm in the group and I'm watching.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, wow, that's weird. They're like talking, and then they're like doing Facebook live videos. Like it was like a counseling session, and I'm like, come on, there's nobody watching this. And I look down, there's like 11 people or 13 people on it, and I'm like, no way. So then that just continued to grow, and then I watched them support each other throughout the whole thing, back and forth, commenting, making fun of each other, like in a fun manner, and in the coaches, and like it was just, I was blown away. I was like, there's no way anybody's going to do that. Well, boy, I was wrong. Like that feed is long, and there was 6 weeks of 100% support for each other, and I was blown away by it. So I didn't know, and watching you guys talk to them through that and go live and say, hey, what's the hardship and what's the challenge, and how are you going to get up in the morning and blah blah blah. And I was blown away.
It's crazy that he mentioned that about the group, because we've been doing the Take Back Your Life program in general for 2016, I think. I mean, we've had at this point like a couple thousand people have come through just that program. And over the years, every single time we do it, we're always thinking, what can we do to make it better? Back to the creating chaos. How can we break this and make it better next time? Over and over again. And one of the things that always comes up is a Facebook group. And we're like, we can't figure it out, because sometimes, and this is just public groups that are, so anyone's joining our program, but they're all in the program. They're not necessarily from a company. And it's like, sometimes the groups are on fire and sometimes they're not. But you know what? The groups who are on fire always do better than the ones who aren't. And it goes back to the support, is when you have that community support. I hate to say community in the gym world because that gets abused nowadays, but when you actually have a true community of people who actually care and actually support one another, that I think makes the complete difference between whether or not they succeed or don't succeed. And I think you could take that same exact concept and translate it to business, and it's the same exact thing there. Because we've worked with other companies, and just we've seen clients here from different businesses and backgrounds for professionally, where if they're not happy with the team, they don't want to be involved at all. So that team aspect and the community aspect is huge, both in what we're doing, but also professionally.
Yeah, 100%. And it definitely makes a difference. And they challenged each other. Like,
I know, I loved it.
Like,
in such a fun but funny way, and it was awesome to watch the whole thing, because they were funny.
Was it Will that printed the Take Back Your Life 2.0 sheet that we have? Whatever, we have a sheet that they're supposed to do at like week 4 or whatever, and I think it was Will that posted a picture of his completed, and then he said, that was me this morning, guys, that printed them all and put it on your desk.
Oh,
did you see that post in there? Yeah.
Yeah.
So Will printed out the worksheet for everyone in Boonville and put it on their desk that morning and said, like, hey, get this done and post it.
I love it. Yeah, they challenged each other, and they're still challenging each other. So a bunch of them are still here.
Yep.
And continuing on that path, and the company's supporting that 100%. We want to see that continue to grow, and I think we'll do another one soon. And I bet you we're going to see more people join, and people that didn't join last time. But it's just great to see overall. I'm glad we did it. I would do it again. I suggest any company out there, if you have 3 staff, it's still worth it, right? Like, that staff is your company. Your company's nothing without those people.
Yep.
So why not do your best to help them be great, mentally, physically, emotionally? Like, how do we strengthen everything for our people, right? And how do we help them become better? And so it doesn't matter the size of your company. It's relative to anyone.
Yeah. I think an interesting question with that is if someone like outside listening to this or watching this, if they wanted to find a company like that, like, what are some things to look for, or what are some things they may turn away from? Like, if someone looking for a career, then looking for a team like that, is there any suggestion that you can give? Just 1 or 2 tips of what to look for?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a tough question. I never thought about it on that perspective. I want
I know one. Look at the leadership.
Always looking for those people. Yeah. Like, we're always looking for those people. Yeah. You look at the leadership, look at their activity, look at their activity. But a lot of companies say they'll go out and they do things for the community, which is great. They'll sponsor an event. But is that a norm, or are they doing it for advertising?
Mm-hmm.
Is that the culture, or is it the advertisement? And that is, I think, hard for people that are applying, or looking for a job, to distinguish which one's what. And so I don't know if I have the answer for that. I would say, watch their social media and see if it's real.
Well, I think right there, look at the intent. Look at the intent of their actions, and do you feel that? Because I feel sometimes, at least for me, it's palpable. You could feel it when it's genuine. You can feel it when it's not genuine.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's definitely something that they can probably you could probably get a good feeling if it is genuine by watching it over a little time, seeing what the owners or leaders are doing. But there's a lot that we do, even as a company or as the leaders in the organization that doesn't get publicized because they're not things to publicize, right? Mm-hmm. So whether we're helping somebody that's going through a tough time, whether we're helping somebody that has no money for a holiday, like those things aren't items that you publicize. So how would somebody trying to work for you know it? It's sort of tough, but I guess the truth comes out over time, right? So as long as you're watching people, you're watching the companies long enough, I guess you'll see it. It'll transpire.
Yeah. All right. So as we wrap up, we have 5 quick questions for you.
Oh,
they're easy questions. Let me pull my sheet here. All right. So first one, best piece of advice for someone looking to make a change to start. Like, what would be one great piece of advice you give them to get started?
Get a support group.
Okay. What are the best half moons in Utica, New York?
Oh, dude, you put me on the spot.
You better say what I'm thinking.
I like 2 of them. So,
okay.
I like 2. So,
just say it. Just get it out.
Good half moon is. I'll tell you my favorite. My favorite is vanilla.
Oh, you're done already.
Half moon with chocolate frosting from. Oh my gosh, I'm having a mind blank. She put me on the spot.
North Star, Hemstratz, Holland Farms.
Holland Farms.
No.
Okay.
Okay.
But hang on, I got another phenomenon. My new fave that I just had the other day was North Star has a half moon that's like a brownie. It is like, whoa.
You just became best friends again.
We just became best friends again.
Oh, really?
I love North.
So I had never had them till the other day. I went to get my son some apples because he has to have his Honeycrisp apples from North Star, the only ones that are good. And so they had half moons there, so I bought him a half moon, and I ate a piece, and then I ate half of it. Yeah.
All right. What's your favorite car? In the car industry, what would be your favorite car?
Dude, I'm a car guy. Like, there's no favorite car. I love cars. If I had to buy a car that I had to drive like all over, and it needed to be powerful with a nice ride and quiet and high quality, and I would buy an S550. Is it my favorite looking car? And it's just my favorite all around car.
Okay.
I don't know what an S550 is.
A Mercedes S550. Yeah, it's like the luxury of the quiet. It has a touch of sportness to it, but it's luxury it's comfortable.
Yeah, I got you. If you could have dinner with anyone, living or dead, who would it be?
Oh man, my father.
I had a feeling we're going to get that. We're going to come back to that. And then I guess this last thing is, how can others learn about Nimey's Auto Group, whether it is for careers or for customers that want to get a car? Where can they find you?
Yeah, so they can find us, online, or we try to have a big online presence, social media. We're in East Utica. We're in Boonville. And
it's at Nimey'sNewGeneration.com.
Yeah, Nimey'sNewGeneration.com and Matt Nimey Buick GMC, Matt Nimey GMC.com,
nextgencarcare.com.
nextgencarcare.com. Yeah, we've got a lot of websites. Nimey Auto Group has, if you get the Nimey Auto Group, you can find them all. And we're really active on social media. We try to be as transparent as we can be.
Yeah.
Show people what we're doing and what's going on. But and all I can say is if you're an individual, or if you're an individual, or you even work at a company, you don't need to be the leader of the company or the owner of the company to suggest to the company managers that you should get involved in a program. So you can lead from the bottom or you can lead from the top. And just because you work somewhere doesn't mean you can't recommend and bring the benefits. Talk to your managers about the benefits of changing your organization and how they feel mentally and physically, and it'll benefit the organization. And the cost of the organization, it might sound expensive, but if somebody can be more productive, have more energy, call in less sick days, like how many healthy people get sick? Less. That's just fact, right? So if your people are healthier, you paying for a gym membership is not going to be an expense to the company.
Connected teams produce more.
Yeah, I would 100% agree.
Yeah.
So I mean, I thank you guys for bringing us on board and doing this with us. You know, it's made a difference in our company. It's going to continue to make a difference, and we're going to continue to do programs like this.
We had a pleasure.
Yeah. Thank you for letting us.
Yeah, it was awesome. Anything that you lazies have to ask Matt?
No, I'm just going to plug you guys for a second because I feel like being a female looking for like cars, or if your car gets something happens to it, like
Smashed, T-boned.
I feel like sometimes, you know, either buying a car can be like really sleazy, or you hate doing it, or you're not sure if you're to get taken advantage of. And like, you guys are just honest people. Like, you just always feel like you're taken care of. So if anyone is watching and looking for a place to go, Nimey's like genuinely amazing people where you don't get that like feel like you're taking advantage of. Like,
buying a car is awkward, right?
Yeah. And as a great friend of him, I feel comfortable saying that they're almost honest to a fault. So like, that's how honest and like good they are, truly. Like,
that's what we're shooting for. So thank you.
But that is all for today, guys. We will be back with another episode next month. But thank you all for tuning in. Adios.
Yeah. Thanks.